Hey guys, what's going on? This is Rick, the Middle Class Millennial, bringing you guys part 5 of this installment of Finishing My Garage, where we're going to be mudding and taping the garage. However, before we get started, I need to address all the drywall install mistakes that I made during the install, because we're going to have to address those and fix them before I can actually start mudding and taping. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, first things first, one of the first main mistakes I need to fix right away is this drywall, sheet of drywall that I installed right here. It was one of the last boards I put in. One thing I didn't realize is because the dimensions are off, this didn't quite fit. And it didn't sink all the way, as you can see here. There's not enough room, so what we're gonna have to do is take our oscillating saw here and cut out this groove a little bit to give it enough space to where it can go in all the way flush against the wall. Also, we're gonna be needing to fill these gaps with spray foam. There's a lot of gaps and cracks during this install, as you can see. And that's just because these walls were not square at all during the install. Plus I had to use shorter sheets because I got these drywall sheets for free. I got them in 12-foot lengths. I cut them in 6-foot lengths so I could get it out here. That's why my joints aren't staggered as much, as you can see on the ceiling and stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and start pre-filling. We're gonna pre-fill around our boxes with spray foam, cut them flush, put some mud around them, and then we'll finally go ahead and start taping. First off, I'd recommend wearing earplugs for this, just saying. I regret spray foaming in here earlier. I didn't realize this defect was here till later, or I wouldn't have done that otherwise. All right, we have it now pretty much flush with the wall. I am gonna have to pre-fill this gap with spray foam, which I will do in a little bit, but let's go ahead and go on to the next fix. All right, another thing too is keep note for anything that's damaged, like this damaged drywall. Yeah, we could mud over this and keep it down, but the issue is over time, it will bubble out and push the tape out. So it's better off to just go ahead and play it safe. Get one of your utility knives. Just cut it along the paper there. Let it just come out like that. And we'll pre-fill this hole with spray foam and some mud and get that nice and sealed. It'll take a few coats, but we'll get it done there. But yeah, as you can see, it's all broken out of there. Also, another area, any areas that have scuffs like this, I cannot put mud directly over this. The mud will peel off. So go ahead and get yourself some oil-based primer. I've read this trick online, and just coat it and let it dry. And that way at least it has something for it to adhere to. Same thing up here as well, as you can see. Same thing up in this corner here. You know, you can also cover pencil marks with it. It's pretty nice. In fact, we'll do that real quick because I got a mud in here anyway. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and hit all the walls with the oil-based primer. Any scuffs first before I spray foam, so we have a good bond to the drywall. Other mistakes that were made was I cut the hole for this electrical box too big, so we're gonna go ahead and pre-fill with some spray foam around that box ahead of time. And we'll cut the excess out later once it dries. There we go. These butt joints will also need to be sealed up. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Oops. All right, I went ahead and pre-filled all my cracks with spray foam. Normally you can cut this stuff, from what I've heard, in a few hours, but we're gonna go ahead and let it dry overnight. I hope this shortcut remedy works. If not, well, we're gonna find out anyway. So I'm a little nervous about it, but we're gonna take our time here. Tomorrow I'm gonna go ahead and cut all this off with a knife. What was not filled in with spray foam, we're gonna pre-fill in with some hot mud or some all-purpose mud. We'll figure out what we're gonna do with that. So anyway, let's go ahead and check on it tomorrow. All right, I went ahead and cut off all the spray foam from my pre-filling earlier. It turned out pretty well. The only thing to keep note is when you guys are removing the foam, it likes to stick to the drywall because of the static electricity when it falls down. So make sure you get all the debris off the drywall, especially before you mud and paint, because you don't want to be rolling over that stuff. Anyway, next up, we're going to be using this all-purpose joint compound in the big 5-gallon bucket. I went with the bucket because I want the bucket for one. But as you can see, we're going to need to add some water. So we're gonna be using a hole saw drill that I got from a family member of mine that I inherited from my grandfather. This thing is notorious for breaking arms if you're using like 4-inch hole saws or bigger, but we're not gonna be using it for that. We're gonna be using it with the mixing tool. So we're gonna see how this goes. This is a Milwaukee brand if you're curious. I got 2 cups of water on this. Don't wanna overdo it. All right, I've already done a little bit of pre-mixing for it. I'm a little nervous about it, but the issue is the speed of this thing. I don't want to break it off my arm. I've already tried it a little bit, so it's not too crazy. Just be careful. All righty. All right, as you can see, we got it pretty creamy. Good consistency that I like it at, so we're gonna go ahead and work with this. One thing I've learned is if you're nervous about that, go ahead and take that bit and kind of loosen it up first and get it mixed by hand. Once you feel it's loose enough, it shouldn't take much resistance. The drill won't give you much resistance once you get it going at that point. All right, I went ahead and loaded up my hawk. I'm gonna be using paper tape for the first time. I've used mesh tape in the past, not paper tape. So I'm gonna be getting familiar with using this. You guys are gonna get a perspective of what it's like for a handyman doing this, not a pro. So understand this is gonna be my first time really doing any serious new drywall work. I've done repairs, but this will be the first time I'm actually gonna be doing taping with paper tape. So it's gonna be interesting. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started and watch me screw up. It's already a little runny. A little too runny. Put a little too much water in that bucket. That's mistake number 1 right there, guys. Just letting you know. Don't put too much water in this. Definitely craftsmanship involved here. I gotta say, that tape went on easier than I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be a pain in the butt to get it to stick, to be honest. Let me get my hawk out again. Yeah, it's one thing I don't like about the hawk too, is there's, you know, you can't really just set it on the ground. You gotta have like something to set it in for it to work. I've been told to keep bubbling, you gotta get a little bit of moisture on the tape, so that's what we're gonna go ahead and do. Just feathering it now. And as you can see here, it might be hard to see. Well, there it is. I got bubbles already. It's only been a few minutes. I got bubbles here. I just touched this. I got a bubble back in there. So we're gonna have to rip all this tape off and redo it. But I want to document this for you guys. This is not as easy as it seems or as easy as it looks. There's definitely a lot of skill involved in this. So, or I'm just not good at it, one of the two. So anyway. I don't know why I got those bubbles. Maybe I didn't use enough mud, but we're gonna go ahead and redo it again. This time I'm gonna put a little bit more mud on there. go. By the way, I found out I'm not getting any bubbles. I didn't put enough mud on, that's why I was getting all those bubbles before I applied the tape. But we'll see how it goes, see if I get some bubbles. But this is just one continuous strand this time, so I'm hitting the screws. Might as well. I'm at it. Oh. All right, we're gonna be doing the corner bead just like the tapered edge joints that we did. I did the first joints on the wall. I'm gonna be doing my first corner bead on the wall instead of on the ceiling, just because it should be easier for me to learn how to do it. So anyway, I got my hawk loaded up. We're gonna get started. I don't know about you guys, but that is the best looking joint I've done so far in this install. So I'm pretty confident on the other ones. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and do the butt joint in the garage here. Pretty simple. All right, we're now on to installing the corner bead on all the corners and the bulkheads of the garage. Make sure you kind of press this down, and notice it's kind of bowed out in certain areas. I also wear gloves for this. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this right now. Get yourself a pair of shears or clippers. It'll come off really easily. If not, you could probably use a hacksaw maybe. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and take a measurement here. Between those two grooves right there, okay. You can twist it off too. Oh, beautiful. All right, to fill the corner beads, we're gonna go ahead and use 40-minute hot mud. I'm gonna get the pail a little bit wet first. I could use the big mixer, but since I got to be kind of quick about it, we're going to go ahead and use the 4-inch knife and just manually mix it by hand. All right, I put ahead, got some water in here. You should wear respiratory protection, but since I'm outside, it's not a huge deal. Let's get that dumped in there pretty good. After about 5 minutes of mixing by hand, I think that'll do the trick. Drier than I'd like, but I think it'll do the trick. We're gonna go ahead and use this 12-inch knife. I don't have a 10-inch, unfortunately. And no, I didn't buy this, it was given to me. Okay, I'm getting the hang of the tool now. Really got to push. And again, this mud's kind of dry. You see, I just dropped a big blob on the ground there. All right, lessons learned. I am done using this blade. I am not using this anymore. We're gonna be using this. See, I got, look at that big hurricane glob in there. My goodness. There's another one. Just destroying this finish. There, that looks better. So yeah, I got more globs again. Alright, so I'm thinking if I can't get this fixed, we're just going to leave it as it is, and I'm going to sand it lightly and do another coat, because I think our mud is bad on us. I'm getting just specks of this mud non-stop. So I was able to get that on there. I've learned a couple lessons putting this on for the first time. I got to tell you, this was the messiest joint I have done on this project thus far. But one thing I learned doing the method that I did is I was trying to use the putty knife because I was hoping, unlike the mixer, wouldn't tear up the bucket as bad because I'm not putting as much force into it. I was wrong. I scratched the living daylights out of this pail, and it made my life a living nightmare because all the specks that I was getting was coming from this bucket, all the little chunks that came off. So lesson learned there, make sure that if you're mixing it in a bucket to be mindful of that, because you will scratch the bucket walls and get chunks in your mud. All right, we're gonna go ahead and do our first smooth coat over our tapered edges here. I have a knife, a 12-inch knife. I don't have a 12-inch trowel, so I can't be using that, but we're gonna try it with the Hawk. I got it loaded up. Here we go. We're gonna see how this goes. Whoops. Trying to figure out how to get this set up here. Man, actually, just pick it up like that. See, I'm getting crap all over the place. Anyway, let's see how it goes. It's not too bad except where the outlet's at, but aside from that, it's not that bad. There we go. Smooth out at least a little bit. I'll have to sand around it, unfortunately, but oh well. Looks pretty good. I like that. Anyway, let's go ahead and fast mow this and I'll show you the rest. Anyway, it seemed to turn out all right. It was a little messy, so it's a good idea to wear coveralls. Aside from that, one thing I've noticed is it is starting to blister in certain areas. From my previous coat, when I put the tape on originally, that's one thing I've learned is just because you've applied tape and you don't see it blister right away, you will see it on the second coat. So I am going to have to cut those out, unfortunately, tomorrow. So the next plan is to go ahead and do my corner beads. Do the last tapered edge over here because I haven't done the corner bead on the inside corner yet for here. do our butt joints, sand, and we're done. Obviously, we're gonna repair our blisters. Aside from that, we're done. It's a garage, and we'll get ready to paint. All right, I went ahead and cut out all my blisters after it dried. As you can see, the tape didn't adhere properly, but it's not covering any gaps, so we're gonna go ahead and just mud over the top of it. All right, we're now gonna go ahead and do the butt joint. This is the first time I've done a butt joint before, an outside fill. So we're gonna go ahead and fill it on the left and right side and then one up in the center and kind of thin it out. Normally people do this in 2 or 3 coats. We're just gonna do 1 coat because it's a garage and for sake of time, I'm just gonna do 1 coat. So we'll see if it's decent enough not to cast shadows. If it still does slightly, but it's not, you know, really obvious, I'll be happy with it because like I said, it is a garage. So anyway, we're gonna see how this goes. I don't have a lot of mud left, so I'm gonna have to be very sparse with this. If I run out, I'm probably gonna just use my, my quick set 45 to finish off the rest. Oh, great. All right, we got both sides feathered. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the middle of it, right up the center. Let's get some dirt out of the mud. Honestly, I like how that turns out. I could pull a little bit more off, but I need enough to sand it flat. So I think this will work, and we'll just sand the edges once it's dry, and I'll get rid of this ridge. All right, we're now on to the final stretch. I'm gonna go ahead and use the pole sander and a hand sander to finish up prepping this wall for paint. I'm also gonna be wearing respiratory protection because you don't wanna be breathing this. Well, that concludes part 5 of this installment. Stay tuned for part 6, where we prime and paint and replace the windows with vinyl windows and trim up the garage and make it look nice. Also, one thing to note too, I did run into some problems during this mudding project. It was easier than a drywall install, but I will be releasing a separate video when this series is concluded, going through all the problems that I had during the entire finishing of this garage more in depth. So if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, you guys, take care.